Hello and welcome to another episode of Who Knew in the Moment, the podcast. I'm your host, Phil Friedrich, and today I am honored to have A.D. Dolphin with me. A.D. is the founder of Dherbs, and he's also an ex-professional basketball player. And one of the things I think you're going to be able to take away from his story is sometimes you have to make the unpopular and risky choice to get the opportunity that you want to have. So, A.D., thanks so much for being on today, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You bet. So to start your story off, you come from a family of really entrepreneurs, and your grandpa owned a store in Hollywood. So talk a little bit about just growing up and kind of seeing the entrepreneurial lifestyle, even as a little kid.
Wow. Unfortunately, I never met my grandfather.
Really?
So I never, but I mean, my grandmother always told me that she felt like his spirit lived within me. So my grandfather's business was called Dolphins of Hollywood. He's
Yeah.
actually one of the first Black producers ever.
Yeah.
And his business, he created in the United States 24/7, a business that actually went 24/7. He was the first to do it in the United States. He had a record store where he would have DJs within the window playing music because he owned a radio station too. Not only did he produce the music and sell the music, but
Yeah.
he also had a way of displaying the music um, on the radio. So he had a full circle business that he completely controlled. And that was called Dolphins of Hollywood was the
Yeah.
name of the record store, but he had individual labels and things like that that went on.
Yeah. So I guess for you growing up and not actually getting the opportunity to meet your grandpa, but getting the opportunity to kind of see or hear about the business that he ran, did that inspire you to say, if he can do it, I can do it? Or where was that seed kind of planted for you?
As far as he can do it, I can do it. I had the pleasure of watching my younger sister because I had a business where I was actually teaching kids how to play basketball,
Yeah.
but I was literally the biggest guy doing it in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I had hundreds and hundreds of clients, and it was a business that was doing really really well. And my sister started a company called IQ Air.
Yeah.
IQ Air is one of the biggest air cleaning companies on the planet currently. It's worth over $1 billion. She did the last two Olympics. So she did the one in China and she did the one in Brazil where they actually cleaned the air that was coming through the tents.
Mm.
So she had a huge business and I watched them. And crazy enough, I used to loan them money because I had a business that was doing well and they were trying to get off the ground. And I would loan her husband and her money so they could continue along with their business. Unfortunately, I didn't take a percentage of the company, which was a bad move on my part, but they always paid me back, whether or not it was a month later, a week
Yeah.
later, or whatnot. It was amazing watching them grow.
Yeah.
And then me and my brother decided once I had got introduced to cleansing, I was like, I really like this business. Maybe we can do something
Yeah.
like my sister was doing and run our own business. And he was like, yeah, let's give it a try. And that's how slowly, but that was the short story of how the herbs kind of came about. It was actually watching my younger sister put together her business and see what she was doing, I watched her go from one room and a desk to a big office with, at the time it was like 10 or 20 people in there. Her office is much bigger than that now.
Yeah.
But I got a chance to see that. So it really, really stemmed from her as far as physically seeing something happen.
Yes. Now, to rewind the story so we can get back to that point, as you're growing up, you take a liking to music, but also to basketball. And
Right.
so for you and for many people, myself included, basketball was one of those things that, I was fortunate to play in college like you were, but, you start to realize at a certain level that you're better than other players, and hey, there's maybe this opportunity to go play at a high at the next level. So talk a little bit about your development through basketball and kind of those early years and getting started and growing.
Yeah, so I was a frustrated player, needless to say. So I started playing basketball late. I started playing in the seventh grade. But I have this super compulsive habit about every single thing that I do. I would play 8 hours a day, 4 hours a day, every single day. So
Yeah.
I developed really, really fast. So eventually I got to the point where I was, a prospect, and I got a scholarship. And then afterwards I had an opportunity to go play overseas in Australia. So I went to do that. Now, it wasn't rendering the same money as the NBA.
Right.
Yeah. So it was like, I could be poor at home. I don't necessarily have to come all the way out here and do my thing. And I was scared because I didn't see it really taking me to where I wanted to be in life, as far as I wanted to live and do things like that, and the quality of life I really, really wanted. Even though I enjoyed basketball immensely, I
Yeah.
didn't see that happening. So therefore, I said, you know what? I'm just going to go back home. And I had left school early to go play,
Yeah.
actually. So I said, I'm going to go back home. I'm going to go back to school and try to, put the pieces back together again.
Yep. Now, I think for a lot of people, when they have excelled at something, it's very easy to tie a piece of who you are to that, right? To that, hey, AD's a basketball player, right? And all of a sudden, that's not a big part of your life anymore. You're not spending 4 hours, you're not spending 8 hours a day doing that. It's like, who am I? You're trying to figure that out. Do people still care about me the same way, even though I don't have that piece of my life anymore? So talk a little bit about that season of life for you as you're transitioning out of basketball, something that had been so important to you for so long, into this new season of figuring out, well, what's next?
That's probably one of the hardest things that happens
Yeah.
because, like you said, you built your whole life around this thing that you thought you were. And then sometimes life kind of propels you in a different direction. So that was really, really tough because as a basketball player, almost things are somewhat handed to you and catered to you. And all of a sudden you went from things being catered to you to now almost you're a normal person.
Yeah.
So that was a huge change for me. But probably the best thing that sports helped me with is that it showed me that if I work at it every single day, I get better. And
Love it.
that was the important lesson that sports gave me, because anything that I realized, because athletes have these crazy training regimens that they go through. So you're talking about you're getting up at 4:30 in the morning, 5 in the morning, and you're putting in this work. Now the average person has never really experienced that.
Yeah.
So when you're doing that on a daily basis for years, what you realize, like I said, that you can get better.
Yeah.
But a lot of times people tend to think that athletes can only get better at athletic things, but it's not true. It's to get better, you need the work ethic. And that's it. That's all you need. And if you take that work ethic and apply it to anything, I don't care if it's whether or not being a doctor, being a lawyer, being doesn't matter, a trumpet player, if you apply that same effort, you will get better.
Yes.
That's the key. That's the
Yeah.
key to life. Are you consistent and persistent about what you're trying to accomplish in life? And if you are, you will see the fruits of that.
100% agree. You want to rewind that 1 minute, listen to that on repeat for a little bit. That was good. And the other thing that I would add to that with the work ethic is the resilience piece, right? I always think it's such a critical lesson you learn. And when you're playing the game, you don't realize like the life impact it's going to have for you, right? You just
Right.
think in the context of a game, but you realize, man, we lost last night, and 12 hours from now, I'm going to have to show up and start doing the same thing over again. Or, hey, we won last night, and 12 hours from now, I got to show up and do the same thing. And so you start learning this resilience piece, and all of a sudden life happens, right? And you have a family member pass away or business doesn't go quite right. And it's like, but I still have obligations tomorrow that I have to show up for. And I
Yep.
think that's such an important skill that you can learn. Once again, we're talking in the confines of sports, but a great takeaway from that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I still have a game tomorrow.
Yeah.
Fortunately, things happen in life, but I still have a game tomorrow.
Yep.
And you're right, the resilience piece is important because life happens. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
So as you come back from overseas, once again, there's a part of you that's probably, as you said it, hey, financially, it's not like I'm making a killing over here. Like if I want to be, making this type of money, I can go back home and do that and be around people I like. And so you say, well, there's a natural progression for me there. I can just teach people how to play basketball. I can
Right.
train people because this is what I know. And you grow that business very rapidly. So talk a little bit about, what you were focused on, because I think, there's a lot of people that aspire to do that, but not a lot of people can create a business out of it. So talk a little bit about your angle and how you were working with different folks.
Okay. As far as like kids, what I realized is that um, I always wanted to be truthful and
Mm,
tell them the truth.
yeah.
And so that was who I was, and I was okay with the truth.
Yeah.
If I messed up, I messed up. If I did it right, I did it right. I understood that language. And I think nowadays, because it was funny, like kind of like people kind of, they don't want to be that person. They don't want to say anything bad.
Yeah.
That's not life. I
Right.
remember I was coaching a team one time, and the athletic director of the team was asking me, "Can you not win by so many points?"
Sorry,
I
what?
I said, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to turn it off. You're asking me because it's hard to make kids aggressive and get them to that certain point. So she wanted me to like not win by like I didn't understand that. And
Right.
and you even see that nowadays when you're dealing with kids, like everyone gets a trophy. Like I struggle with that. And I know the world is so different now, but I don't understand that aspect of it.
Yeah.
So my whole thing was to be honest with kids and tell
Yep.
them the truth. And what I learned is that they appreciated it.
Yep.
They appreciate it. And they knew when they did it right because things felt a certain way.
Yep.
And, if you're getting a trophy for doing things wrong, it's confusing.
Right.
It's just, hey, we didn't play well today. We lost today. And that's okay. And that's that resilient piece
Yeah.
that you talked about that I feel like they're trying to take away from kids now. I
Yeah.
was just like, yeah, so everybody's not made for this. So we don't have to trick people into pretending that they are.
Yeah.
It might be something else waiting for them that's more to their appetite and more to the way they are, the way they think, and that's okay. I just felt like I said, I was going to be honest with kids and tell the kids the truth and let them know if you're persistent and consistent with this and resilient with this, that's a new thing that you kind of made me focus on, is that you will get better.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're going to be the best, but I can guarantee you, if you work with me, you're going to get better. And that was my whole goal, is I will make you better. And that's what I did.
So I think there's a lot of takeaways from that. I mean, once again, used in the scope of, working with, adolescents, but I mean, I think even in the workplace, being direct and being honest is important. I think one thing that I would highlight is it's how you go about it, right? How do we deliver that message? Because there's a lot of ways to deliver the right message the wrong way, right? And then there's another
Right.
way to deliver a direct message, but make sure that it's going to land on ears that don't get defensive and be like, "Oh, AD, you don't know what you're talking about," right? So
Right.
talk a little bit about delivering a message that's direct, but in a way that is received, opposed to put somebody on the defensive.
I think what it comes down to is everyone is different.
Mhm.
And when you are a person in an authority position, that's what you have to recognize.
Yeah.
You might not be able to have sometimes you have to have different conversations with different people that mean the exact same thing.
Yep.
That's you being aware that you being the person in authority, and you have to be, if you're a real, if you're like a coach in a way, you have to recognize that, okay, this guy's a little bit different. And you know what? He's let me say it this way because I can feel like I can get the best out of that person this way. Now,
Yep.
some people you can be really, really blunt to, and
Yep.
they take it well and they keep going and they push even harder.
Yep.
But I think that's the when you run a business and you're dealing with employees and you have you're a coach and you're dealing with players, you have to find a way to get the best out of that people. So therefore, the conversation is not always the same from person to person. It's just not.
Yes. Well, and I love that. And, once again, today's about you, but I want to share a small tidbit of my story. I remember I was in like the 4th grade and there was a college in the town that I lived in, and I would go work out in the morning, and the assistant coach was so kind to open the gym for me. And very rarely would he watch, but every once in a while he'd stick around and watch me play for a little bit before he'd leave for his day. And I was working out one day and he just came up to me and he goes, "Hey," and once again, I'm in 4th grade, so I forget how old you are, maybe 10, whatever that age is.
Right.
And he goes, I think you're doing this because your goal is to someday play in college. And right now you're probably overweight and too slow to be able to play at your height at college. So you need to start like working on your speed and losing weight. And I remember I shared that with someone once and they're like, "Did that negatively impact like your self-esteem? Did that make you feel?" And I go, "No, I mean, once again, like, yeah, I think I subconsciously knew I was overweight." Like for 4th
Right.
grade, I could see my friends, but it was like the guy was just saying it because he cared, because he wanted me to get my goal, right? And I wasn't going to get my goal if I stayed the same weight and I didn't get faster. And so I appreciated the fact that he was helping me get to where I was going. I didn't take it as he was making me feel bad about who I was, right?
Right. Yeah. Like I said, the world is a crazy place now. And sometimes I just think it's too sensitive.
Mm.
You know what I mean? The truth is the truth.
Yep.
You know what I mean? He was just trying to help you. He probably maybe didn't say it the best or
Right.
present it the best, but obviously it was effective with you because you're
Yep.
not overweight now.
Right. Yes.
It looks like you're in great shape right now. So yeah.
Yes. So to transition, that's a great segue. So you start noticing that, hey, when I was working out, 4 to 8 hours a day, this gaining of weight thing wasn't really a thing because I was burning everything off. I was, using all the energy. But then all of a sudden, I wasn't working out as much or as intensely, and I started to gain a few lbs. So you're like, man, what the heck am I going to do to get rid of this? So talk a little bit about this phase of life as the body's changing and your, exposure or desire to, have a healthy lifestyle is adjusting as well.
Absolutely. So, I'm training kids now. I'm not playing.
Right.
So, and like I literally had hundreds of kids. So I was constantly training, constantly training. And I realized that I started to gain weight, which was never an issue for me my whole entire life. Like,
Yeah.
I played, I played every single day, 8 hours a day. So it was never ever an issue. So once I seen that happening, I started to realize that I'm gonna have to make some changes.
Yeah.
And someone I think it was an old girlfriend or a friend or something like that. I think it's a ex-girlfriend. She was like, "You should cleanse with me." So I did a cleanse.
Yeah.
And like I said, I have a compulsive habit. Like I get crazy about things. So I enjoyed the cleanse. I remember my very first cleanse, I had this addiction with soda. I immediately stopped. Like
Wow.
I stopped drinking soda immediately. I dropped, 15 pounds real quick. And then I went on from there. I was like, wow, I feel great. Wow, I wish I would have known this when I was playing basketball because I didn't know, at least not now they talk about more about diet
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But when I was playing, it wasn't really an issue. They never brought it up. So now so I was like, wow. So then I kind of started doing everyone's cleanse.
Yeah.
And when I did everyone's cleanse, I realized they all had differences.
Yeah.
They all, some focused on your diet more. It was more supplements, and they had certain rules. And so then I was like, wow, I kind of like this. And I've done so many different cleanses. I was like, I told my brother, I was like, I think there's a business here. Do you want
Yeah.
to do it with me? And so he was like, yeah. And I was a business major in school. My brother had an advertising degree, and stuff like that. So then we kind of put a group together, and we started looking for herbalists, and we told them what we wanted to accomplish, and we showed them the products that we had saw out there, and we began to get to work. And a year later, we created, I felt like, especially at the time, the best full body cleanse on the planet. And it's the same one that we sell currently. And that's it's been so effective and so amazing to have this product, because I'm literally the #1 selling cleanse online. I
Yep.
sell more cleanses than any other company on the planet. So it's just been amazing to watch, and it's almost as satisfying when I used to see the kids that I had get better.
Yeah.
And it was just so funny, because just the other day, a lady reached out to me and was just like, I lost 56 pounds
Wow.
in 1 month. It was amazing. She said, I can't even believe it. She was just so amazed by it. And she just realized, I just realized the power of your diet,
Yeah.
the power of the products. And if you really, really apply yourself and put in the work, like I learned in life, you will get the results that you're looking for. And that's
Yes.
and that's what it was.
Yeah. Now, something that I think is always interesting in the, health space is why people want to start pursuing that, right? I think for a lot of people, they think it's because, oh, I want to get in shape and it sounds really good. But when push comes to shove and you're like, never mind, I'll just get the cheeseburger. Like, that's not that important to me. Other times, though, you get to that point in life where it's like, you know what? You start recognizing that there's a level of confidence that can come with being in shape because, hey, I can go run around with my kids, or because I've got the energy to do work and then go do other things. And that correlation, though, has to become more than just I want to lose 5 pounds, right? It's like it's the why behind it. So talk a little bit about, how you guys position, your cleanses to help people, but also to have them understand, hey, there's a lot of benefits that come from doing this.
Right. And it's the way we position it, because, well, we had to look at the world and what
Yeah.
was going on with the world. So we're dealing with a society in the United States that where 70% of the people are obese.
Yeah.
So to be honest, the cleanse, it can be used as a weight loss tool, but it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
It just really is. It's going to clean out, all your major eliminative channels. That's your gallbladder, your heart, your liver, your colon, your spleen, your lungs, your kidneys, your adrenal glands, your blood, and your skin. It's going to flush out all the impurities in those particular areas. And then we realize the power of your diet to help people lose weight even more. And so therefore, we wanted to put people on a raw food cleanse. Now, most of the companies out there, they won't really do that, because they feel like if they put in certain rules, then it's going to limit the amount of people that's going to be willing to do it.
Yeah.
I didn't really care about that. I wanted the people to, after they did our cleanse, whether or not it was one person or 1 million people, to get the results that they were actually looking for, and to feel different and to be different, and for them to notice it within that 20-day experience.
Yeah.
And that's why we put in certain rules and have people do certain things, so therefore they could truly see the change happen. And it's funny when people see that change happen for them, and they see that, wow, I had high blood pressure, or wow, I was pre-diabetic and I just lost 20 pounds, and I'm not pre-diabetic anymore. And I did my blood test and my results came back so amazing. And they realize that they can actually improve themselves within a short amount of time. And all they have to do is truly apply to themselves. So that was one of the beautiful things that I really, really liked about what we were doing, is that people were getting the results.
Yeah. Well, so I think something to highlight there. There's a gentleman named James Clear. He's the author of the book Atomic Habits, and one of the topics that he talks about a lot is this idea of discipline. And he says people typically hear the word discipline and they think, I don't want to live this rigid life, right? I don't want to have this structure. I don't want to have these rules I have to follow. And he goes, the interesting thing about life, though, is typically the people that have the most disciplined life have the most freedom in their life. And the people that have the most undisciplined life have the most structure in their life because of the undisciplined choices they've made. And
Absolutely.
and I think as I hear you saying, what you're talking about from a health standpoint, it's like, hey, it doesn't mean if you do a raw food, diet for a while, doesn't mean you can't have something every once in a while. But when this is the
Exactly.
80% of what you do, that other 20 doesn't have nearly the negative impact as if 80% of the time you're doing that and only 20% of the time you're doing the right health choice for yourself.
Right. It's so many times, and I always tell me and my brother always talk about this. It's a weird subject though, but it's just like we always hear about when people pass, why they pass. Wow. We never back in the day, like people just, hey, they didn't have all these diseases and ailments and all this stuff. That was the reason why people are passing currently. Sometimes, you know what, it's more of a peaceful thing. It's like their time was just over. You know
Yep.
what I mean? And it was just like they passed away in their sleep, but they weren't ailing for 10 years. They
Yeah.
weren't, you know what I mean? They weren't on all this medication and stuff like that. My mother is 70 years old and she's not taking any medication.
Yeah.
And she's not on high blood pressure. She's not pre-diabetic. She's not any of these things. It's because I helped her restructure her life and understand that food really can have a negative impact if you let it take over your life. But then
Yeah.
I also realized the reason why food became this luxurious kind of thing. And it was funny because me and my brother realized this sometimes when life isn't so sweet, we find sweetness wherever we can find it. And
Mm.
oftentimes it's on a plate.
Yep.
And that's what's really going on. We got to be able to find other ways to enjoy life and to opposed to eating. We
Yeah.
got to get out there, exercise, go hiking, read books, you know what I mean? Go on vacation. We got to be able to like find other things within our means to enjoy life, opposed to just sitting there eating food.
Yes, that's so good. Now, we started when you started a business, and at one point you said we're the number one selling cleanser in the world. And if only it were that simple that the business went like that, it would be great. But there are multiple times, just like any business, where you sit here and say, "Oh my gosh, like, is this still the right thing? Are we doing the right thing? Is the business going to be open?" And so, one of the stories that I thought was extremely interesting is how you got on the Steve Harvey show and the financial position of the company heading into this. So, talk a little bit about where the business is at, where the financials are at, and how this comes to be.
So, how we got on the Steve Harvey show was interesting. So, what the TV show or the radio show?
The radio show I know is the more financial part of it, and then the TV show is more the interesting story.
Okay, so which one do you want? Both?
Both, both.
Okay. So radio, we always felt like Steve Harvey radio was where we were supposed to be.
Yeah.
We had got introduced to radio through a company called it's a lady. It's like one of Oprah friends. Kathy Hughes owns a certain section, a specific kind of radio throughout the nation. I think like black radio that's more or less in black neighborhoods, in black cities, and things like that.
Yeah.
So we went through Kathy Hughes. They had approached us, and they were like, we have an opportunity for you guys. My brother kept going back and forth. He was like, I think it was $12,000 that they wanted. And at the time, Dherbs only made $60,000 a month. So my brother had mentioned it to me, and I was like, it ain't no way in hell I'm giving them $12,000.
Right.
And my brother, and I'm going back and forth with my brother, and I'm just like, it's no way. it's funny how sometimes we can limit our thinking, and a lot of it is just from who we are, what we've been through, what we've currently seen can affect your judgment. And my brother, thank God he was there because he kept pushing. I was like, I can't see it. And then so maybe a week, 2 weeks later, he comes back to me and said, hey, they'll do it for 11.5. I was like, it ain't no way. I was like, it's still too much. It doesn't make any sense to me. So then a month later, he can say, hey, they'll do it for 10.5. And then I tell my brother, I said, look, 10.5 is still too much, but I'll do this. If they can find a way to get under $10,000, I will take them on. So maybe a week or two later, he comes back to me and said, hey, they'll do it for 9.5. I said, forget it. I tried to get rid of my feelings about it, my personal feelings about it, and go through this process. And we did it. And immediately when we did it, our business doubled. Just like that, overnight, just that easy. And then I realized, wow, there's a lot of opportunities on the radio. And there's this thing going on. So then we started looking at other radio shows. And then we slowly we started doing, I think we did a few other radio shows with, I think the first one we did had an audience of 1 million. Then the next one had 2 million, 3 million. Now we're talking about, and we knew Steve Harvey, that was a big one. That was 10 million people. So we approached the Steve Harvey and they said, it's going to cost you $100,000. So now I revert back to where I was when my brother first told me. Like, it ain't no way in hell that's gonna make sense to me. Like, it's no way we're going to make that money back. It's impossible. Impossible. I was like, no, 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 no. So my brother, thank God he was there. He just kept working on me because he wanted me to be all in on it and to go down this road. And he felt like it was the road to take.
Yeah.
So we took it on. We did it. And it was an amazing thing that happened. So when we did the Steve Harvey show, and we do radio unlike anyone else, we don't run commercials. We do something called live reads. So we do a live read is when the host is talking to the other host and immediately say, hey, you know what? I'm thinking about doing that Dherbs cleanse. And they immediately go into it. So it's not a commercial per se during that commercial time period. It's a live read. So that was something my brother put together because, like I said, he has an advertising degree. He felt like commercials were outdated and this was the way to go. So he does it in such a way where we do 2 interviews within a month, top of the month, middle of the month, and in between those days, we do live reads. Every day, live reads for 1 month. So our very first interview with Steve Harvey, it was amazing. We got over 5,000 phone calls. 5,000 phone calls. Like, I was there when the phone was ringing. Because when I do the radio show, it's actually at 4 a.m. So I'm in the office, 4 a.m. No one's there. I do this live interview, and I never seen the phones react like this. I said we got over 5,000 phone calls within a couple hours. A couple hours. And our day ended with, and like I said, when I do entrepreneur shows and things like this, talking about this, I know entrepreneurs are going to hear this. I really try to tell them the truth of what happened, especially financially, just so they can understand. So that day, we made $58,000.
Wow.
$58,000 in one day, 5,000 leads. So it was crazy to watch that happen. And then 14, 15 days later, we did our second interview. My brother put together a program that we still run today on radio because it was so effective. And that second interview, I was like, there's no way it's going to do it again. And it did do it again. We made $46,000 that day. And then I realized, wow, within our 2 campaigns, it can pay for the entire campaign. Those 2 interview days could actually pay for the entire campaign. Now, on the other days where we did live reads, we made $25,000 a day every single day. So it was crazy for that whole entire month. That was our thing. And then, so once we and that was our way of really nailing down our way of advertising. And with that Steve Harvey show, and we took that and we went from station to station with that format. And like I said, today we still do that same exact format.
I love it. So I want to highlight the fact that, to get the growth you wanted, you had to take a risk, right? And a big financial risk in a big way.
Absolutely.
And I think the other part is the amount of buy-in that comes when you take a risk. And so, we're talking about in the scope of business, but I think someone listening sitting here saying, I've been debating doubling my expense at the gym to hire the personal trainer to hold me more accountable, but I don't want to spend the extra $150 a month. And it's like, you know what? But that $150, if it actually holds you to what you want to do, it's probably the best $150 you're going to spend because you're going to do what you said you were going to do. So for you guys, hey, we knew we wanted to grow the business. We knew we needed a bigger reach, but we had to, kind of put our money where our mouth was literally and say, we're going to make the investment and then see what comes from that.
And every single business in the United States or anywhere hits that point. Yes. Where what are you going to do? Are you going to take the risk and go for it, or are you just going to keep muddying along and doing the same thing that you're kind of doing? So it was an amazing opportunity, amazing chance we took, and it really paid off. Yes, it really paid off for us. And then now TV happened. So now we're going to TV. So now they called us because of the fact that I think it was I can't remember, a company bailed out on the TV opportunity. And it was something that I learned when we used to do. So the Steve Harvey does this thing called the Neighborhood Awards. At least it used to do it. It doesn't do it currently. The Neighborhood Awards is where they would have a celebration of the radio show and promote different businesses. And since I had advertised so heavily with them, they wanted me to be a part of it. And it was one thing that they told me that triggered everything for me. They told me that, hey, you come on the radio so much, because no one was using our format, the interviews and whatnot and this and that. They told me that you come on the radio so much that people actually feel like you're a part of the show. So we don't want to put you next to Bank of America or this and that. They had this area called Celebrity Row. Celebrity Row was where all the hosts of the Steve Harvey show, they sold their products and they were there promoting their products to the customers who came to that convention. That's when I realized, wow, if I go on a popular show often enough, I actually become popular. I didn't understand that concept at first. Yeah. So I realized, so that very moment that they told me that and where they wanted to place me within that convention alerted me like, wow, this thing is happening because I'm on the show enough and it's a popular show. It has 10 million people as far as the audience. So now 10 million people eventually have heard me over the years say something. So TV comes along, so one of their advertisers weren't able to do it, and they said, hey, would you be interested? And the reason why they looked to me is because of the fact that I was one of the primary people advertising on the Steve Harvey show. So they was like, he does TV too. Yeah. Maybe you might be interested. And the first thing I asked them, because of my experience with the radio show, I said, how many do you have left? They said, I have 15. I said, if I do a show, when will it come on? They said, it comes on the following week. I said, hey, don't try to sell those 15 if we're just talking about a week. How much is this opportunity going to cost for me? And if it works out, I'll buy them all. Because I had already realized if I'm on the show enough, I become popular, my company becomes popular, and we'd be able to sell more product. So they told me that, so I did it. And now, again, I had to go through my thing. I said, how much does it cost?
Yeah.
And at the time, they told me $50,000. Now, $50,000 is a lot of money because now I know you're thinking, hey, radio, but radio lasted 1 month. This
Right.
is a 5-minute segment for $50,000. And I
Right.
said to myself, I went through my same routine. It ain't no way in the world that is going to work out and that is going to pay off. It is
Oh,
impossible. My
yes.
brother's talking to me. He's like, no opportunity of a lifetime. We got to do it. You seen what happened on the radio. I said, dude, it's 5 minutes. How is 5 minutes going to change our business? It is impossible.
Yeah.
Like I said, all my stuff comes out. All my stuff comes out and thoughts and overthinking and whatnot. So my brother works on me and we finally do it. So we do it. We pay our $50,000. We come on the radio show. We actually did this amazing show that you can still find on the internet about a preacher who needed to lose weight. We actually helped the preacher lose, I think it was like 130 something pounds.
Wow.
His wife needed a kidney, but he was
Wow.
350 pounds. And when you're 350 pounds, they won't allow you to test. So if you are a match, because you need all your body parts to keep you alive.
Yeah.
Well, he wanted to be a hero for his wife, at least have the opportunity to test for it. So he asked us, can he help us? And it just so we were helping him during that process. At the same exact time, we had got this amazing opportunity with the Steve Harvey show. So we asked him, would he be willing to come on and tell his story? Because we had actually helped him lose. He had got down to like 220. He got a chance to test for his wife. Unfortunately, he wasn't a match, but it was funny because he went in to try to save her life, but he
Yeah.
actually saved his own
Yep.
too. He saved his own too. So it was like a beautiful thing. It wasn't a dry eye in the building. Everyone was crying. It was such a beautiful experience. But even on the financial part, Dherbs really won because he talked about the usage of the product and how he did it and da 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 da. And that day we made $200,000 on the radio. I mean, not on the radio,
On the TV.
on
Yeah.
TV,
Yeah. Yeah.
on
Yeah.
the TV. And then the next day we made an extra 100,000 right away, just right away. So it was amazing to see, wow, 5 minutes can be effective. Because
Yeah.
I would have swore it's impossible. There's
Yep.
no way that this can be effective. It's 5 minutes. How can this change your business? And it did. So then immediately after that, I called the lady and I said, I'll buy all 15.
Yep.
And then that started me on my journey of being on the Steve Harvey show. I've done to date over 40 episodes,
Wow.
national TV. And what I did was, which probably was one of the biggest tricks, is that since I had technically became the health coach for the Steve Harvey show and I did all the transformations, I hired a publicist.
Mm-hmm.
And I told the publicist, find me other opportunities, use me as the health coach for the Steve Harvey show, and I think you'll be able to get more opportunities for me. And it worked. I appeared on The Doctor. I did The Doctor twice. I did Dish Nation. I did I did so many different TV shows because of what I was doing on the Steve Harvey show. And I didn't pay for none of those other opportunities because the Steve Harvey show had that much cachet. You know what I
Yep.
mean? It's that
Yeah.
important to the community, that important to people. So therefore, it helped me get other opportunities. And I was like, wow, I paid over here and I got all these other opportunities for free. And it was just an amazing change to our business and put us in a different place.
I love it. So to bring that story and your original passion for basketball full circle, recently you guys got a partnership with the Big Three basketball. So talk a little bit about what's going on there and where the business is at with that.
So we tried the Big Three. Unfortunately, it didn't work out well. It didn't go that well. A lot of it due to the fact, because the reason why I got the big three is because the CEO of IMG at the time owned the Steve Harvey Show,
Got
which
it.
also owns William Morris Endeavor, the acting agency. So the CEO of maybe he wasn't the CEO. I don't think he was the CEO. He was he was in charge of the advertising
Yeah.
division. He became the CEO for for the big three. Called me over and said, "Hey, we might be able to work something out just because of that relationship." So
Yeah.
we gave it a go. Unfortunately, it didn't go well because they couldn't really get the players to follow through.
Yes.
So that was just a tough thing. But that's what this is all about. And being an entrepreneur, learning from, your ups and downs is the key. You have to be able to find the information when things
Yep.
don't go well, and things that do go well, and you find out what works and what doesn't work, and you use that kind of information to help you make better business decisions in the future. So that was a stepping stone for us as far as helping us make better and bigger decisions in the future. So it didn't go that well.
But see, exactly to the point, and that is, as a business owner and as a person in life, taking the risk is important because you don't know what's going to happen, right? We only knew in hindsight that Steve Harvey worked out because it worked out, right? But going
Right. That's it.
into it was a big risk, and you don't know. And once again, we're talking about in the context of your business, but someone listening right now is debating, I've got this W-2 job that it's fine. But if I had to do it for the next 40 years, I wouldn't be very happy. But the thing
Right.
I want to do is it's a big risk. I don't know. What if it doesn't work out? And the reality is, as long as it's not a life or a death situation, it's okay to take a risk sometimes because guess what? It can work out. Don't just
Yeah.
focus on the fact that it's possible that it wouldn't work out.
Yeah, it can be life changing, and that's what we're all about. We're all about taking risks, at least an educated guess at it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? The best guess that we can possibly make, because you never know, it could be a life changing experience around the corner from you.
Yes, absolutely. Well, AD, I want to say thanks so much for being on today and just highlighting your story and the pivotal moments that have led you and the business to where it's at. And just excited to continue to watch your journey and see where the business continues to grow.
I appreciate that.